All right. Here we go. All right, I need to... Oh, that's working. Hey, it's working. Fantas77, hello. How are you doing? That was your first comment on the live stream? Very nice. Very nice. All right. Meepy, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? If you were here before me, you're not late. That's the way that works. Absolutely, dude. All right, I need to spam people in my Discord and stuff. So stand by while I do that. Robin Armstrong, what's up, dude? How you doing? All right. Videos and streams. All right. How should we make this spicy? It's question and answer time, folks. If you got questions, come bring your questions to the stream, and I'll do my best to give a cohesive answer. Then I need to put the link. There it is. Throw that there. Send now. Yay. All right, I should probably... is it even worth putting it on Twitter? Like, I might as well do it. I might as well just throw this stupid thing up there. It doesn't matter. What is that? Good gravy. What a piece of junk. Where is Twitter? Let's find Twitter. Social media platforms. Twitter business account. No, not the business account. I want to go to the normal one. The normal. All right, I gotta copy and paste this. All right, there we go. Post. What's up, Goliath Cleric? You can ask questions whenever you want. You can start doing it now. Heck yeah. There we go. Post. There we go. Post. I posted it. I haven't been on Twitter for a while. But a little too busy to be on Twitter. It's probably my first post in a week or something. Usually when I go on Twitter, I just stir the crap up anyway. There's so many people with, I don't know, saying stuff. All right. I think we're ready to go. I think we're ready to get the show on the road, baby. Let's get the show on the road. I gotta push a button. Hey, there we go. Hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the live stream. We're doing Q&A today, so you throw your questions in chat. I will answer them. It'll be beautiful. If you feel like you're being ignored, you might be, or I might just not see your question. But you can always super chat, and then I will answer those immediately. I want you guys to know that I spent all day today getting our latest Foundry modules ready. You can get Foundry VTT modules now for our October and September content that we published in Lair magazine. So there is a link in the chat, right, Goliath Cleric, to where you can get our Foundry modules. I was up this morning at 4 a.m. and until like probably an hour ago, I was working on getting our Foundry modules. We had so much troubleshooting and stuff like that, but I think it's all set now. And it's very, very beautiful. You can get our Foundry modules if you are a DM Lair patron, or they are also on our DM Lair store. So you can get them either way. And they are super spectacular. They have all the tokens you need, the walls, the lighting, the doors and stuff that open up. The stat blocks pop up. Everything's automated. Everything is linked. Like the journals are there and everything is interlinked. It's like, it's a work of art. It's so, so beautiful. So you should check that out. So that's what I was doing today, by the way. So that's like top of mind right here. Now I do want to do, let's do our patron shout out before I forget. We have a giveaway going on too. Where's my book? supposed to have this at my desk, but I forgot to get it. Giving away a copy of Into the Fae. If you want to get this level 1 to 5 adventure module. Now, when we do these giveaways, like there's not a whole lot of people that sign up for them, so your chances of winning are pretty high. You can also get store credit on the DM Lair store, where we have tons of crap, including the Foundry VTT modules I just got done talking about. So you could probably pick up a whole bunch of those if you win. So join the giveaway, link in the chat. It's nice. And now I'm gonna shout out our wonderful patrons. Let me get the right screens. My cat is wanting attention. All right, sweet. So these are our awesome patrons right here who help support all the content we make. So we're very, very deeply appreciative to them. They get Lair magazine, they get Foundry VTT modules now, and crap loads of 5e Pathfinder 2 content they can use in their games. So thank you, all you patrons. You are, like, for serious, like, they help us to like do our crap around here. Help me to pay Zach, who's Goliath Cleric, in the chat and everything. So we love our patrons. Thank you all so much. Now, the people that I'm going to display on this screen right here, they supported a higher level and they get their names read out loud. So here we go. I will mispronounce most of these, and that is like part of the show. Adam B, Agile Monk, Alessandro N, Alex S, Alexander O, Amanda W, Ambers, Angelique K, Art Soccer, Ashley, Beaviscon, Bees in Space, Black Wolf, Bradley H, Brandon A, Brian D, Brian O, Brian the Lion, Carl C, Chris C, Christine B, Christopher G, Colette H, Colin W, Connor D, Contrary Gravy, Courtney H, Dazzled Up, David S, DeWolf, Dean B, Derek E, Dice Goblin Wannabe. I mean, it's not that hard to be a Dice Goblin. Like, you seriously, dice are so cheap. You can get like bajillion dice for cheapo on Amazon. And I mean, they're cheap dice, but then you can at least say you're a Dice Goblin, right? Like, you know. Dominic S, Don D, Dazum, Dungeon of Terra, Dutch, Ed R, Edward B, Edward L, Infrabo, Andorian 72, Eric B, Aaron, Arno N, T, there you go. Gabriel T, Gary C, Gene A, Generic Throwaway, George E, Greg P, Guapo, GVTM, Hard Ungaled, Helltongue, HLD, Iron Cascade, It's Bailbond, Jackie Pizza, Jake L, Jacob K, James C, James L, Jan F, Jennifer M, Jeremy W, Jim P, Joanne P, Joel A, John J, John the Wicked, John Pink Sauce, Jonathan F, Jonathan S, Jonathan V, Jordan A, Jose, Joseph H, Joseph W, Josh M, Josh S, Josh G, Kamata, Kiko no Tetsuki, sorry, Kevin F, Killsaber K, Kirby, Crystal S, Curryclaw, Laura L, Laser Scion, Lionheart, Linda, Loki E, Lord H, Matlock, Macy C, Magna, Matt S, Matthew C, there's two of them. There was two last time. Meepanoned, Meepy, hey, Meepy's in chat. Michael G, Merostal, Mitchell, Mo20s, Moon, Mordakian, Mr. Owl, Nerd with Glasses, Nerd over 900, Nicholas S, Neareth, Old Man Mage, PN, Pethnick, PVO, Pivo, Porkchop Bacon, that's a good name, Puppet Master, Quithamo, Randy B, Rebar, Renner C, Richard M, Rob B, Robert C, Robert B, Robin B, Ryan Saw, Sale R, Sakuro Saw, Mule M, Scott R, Shadow, Shane L, Sheila A, Simfan, Snapragger, Soul Bora Gaming, Sonos Overman, Soul Naya, Stan the Man, Stephen G, I'll just do both, Stephen T, Steve L, Steve S, Sturm, Terry V, the 3/4 Hospital, the Old DM, the Fuzzle, the New Bad Hombre, Thomas F, Timothy T, TK, Travis the Lost, Trinity Series, Tyler D, Tyler R, Unalloyed, Undying Warlock, Balagor, Victoria Q, Vinny, Vladimir S, Vault O was in the house, Walt O, Wesley K, William C, XX Redrum, Zachary J, Zombie Trami. Wee, yay. I got through them all. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Cool. All right, let's do some questions. Remember when Luke would read those in one breath? I never was able to read those in one breath. But we did have a thing for a while where I was doing it under a minute. And then that stopped a while ago. It didn't happen. It takes me probably 3 minutes now to do them, but we had a thing where I was trying to do them under a minute, and I was doing pretty well for a while. Just a Person says, recently wrapped up my 9-month campaign, and thanks to the advice of you and many other DM tip channels, it went really well, and we all had a great time. So thanks for that. You're very welcome, dude. That's awesome. 9-month campaign. That's an achievement right there. A lot of campaigns fizzle out in like a couple months after a few game sessions where everybody's just like, yeah, you know, I'm busy. I'm busy. Gotta get a haircut and I gotta do the laundry and stuff. Sorry. So if you had players stick through for 9 months, that is an accomplishment. It's good. They were for sure having fun. One of the biggest indicators that you're running a good game is that your players stick around. And one of the biggest indicators that your game needs work is your players keep leaving. Those are the indicators right there. So if they stick around for 9 months, you're doing a great job, dude. Well done. Or you bribed them. Maybe you just brought pizza every game session and they were hungry. That's what I do. I always have pizza for my players when they come over. And they always come. But some of them don't eat the pizza. So it doesn't work for everybody. Looking for questions. Drop your questions in chat, or I'll just stare at you. Will you ever offer Roll20 modules? No. Robin, we used to offer Roll20 modules. And let me tell you, Zach had to do a butt ton of work to create those things. And then when we started putting them out, nobody bought the stupid things. And Roll20 is like butt hat crazy backwards. You cannot sell your Roll20 modules on your own store. You have to sell them through Roll20, like on their site. And I forget what percentage they take. I don't recall. It might not have been that high. I just have no idea. I don't remember what it was. But I can't host them on my own Shopify store. I have to sell them through Roll20 on their site. You know, it was a big, huge pain in the butt, man. It's like, and like it's like so look at business. If as a business, where do I want to drive potential customers, right? To my own site. Because if I can host all of my products on my own site, then I can advertise and tell people my products, hey, go get my products. And I can tell them to go to one place. And whether they're getting a PDF or a hardcover, or they're getting a Foundry VTT module, they can go to one place, my store, right? It's very simple. So I can do marketing for my Foundry VTT modules. They go to my store and they can also find my hardcovers, or they can find, you know, the PDFs, or whatever they're looking for, because it's all right there. But when I can only put my Roll20 modules on their site, now I have to do marketing in a different way. I can't just tell people to go to my site. I have to tell people, hey, if you want Roll20 modules, go over here. If you want Foundry VTT, go to my site, or this other stuff. So it's like my marketing is now in this problem of having to tell people to go to various places. It's like, it's much easier if I can just tell everybody to go to one place. But Roll20, it's like, I gotta host it on their crap. So I'm sending people over there. I don't want to send people to them. I want to send people to me. Like if I'm spending marketing budget or just an opportunity cost because I'm just doing it on my YouTube or something like that, like I want to send them to me, right? Because that's the whole idea. Businesses don't want to send potential customers to a different person's site. So Roll20, it's like if they were to let me host the stuff on my own site, right? Just an easy way to do it, it'd be great, but you can't do that. There's no way to do that. Now, it's possible that other massive companies are able to do it in a different way and they get special agreements made out. But for people like me, it's just like you got to put it on their site. So we put a couple out there and they didn't do that well. And frankly, whatever. We gave up on it. That's never going to happen. And Zach, I don't even know. Zach, do you know how much time did it take you to convert one Roll20 module? Because there's an opportunity cost too. Like I can have Zach working on a whole bunch of other stuff or converting Roll20 modules, you know, and Roll20 is gonna die, you guys. Roll20 is just gonna go kaput eventually, right? And people are gonna stop using that place. They're gonna start going to places like Foundry VTT, which is so much better and much easier for people like me to actually sell my products on it, you know? So Roll20 is not going to be around forever. And so to put a whole lot of time and effort into creating product for a place that is probably going to go defunct eventually doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a business perspective, right? You don't want to invest time and effort and opportunity costs into a place that's probably going to go under in a couple of years, or that's going to have a declining user base. You know, like I don't think Roll20 is probably acquiring a whole bunch of new users. They probably just have current users who have already committed to it, right? Places like Foundry and other new virtual tabletops, they're probably having much better job and doing much better at acquiring new users because they actually have modern platforms, you know, that are easier to use and look better and crap like that. Goliath says he could literally write an entire adventure or article for Lair magazine, get an entire stage of a Kickstarter moving forward, or 1,000 other things at the same time. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So like, I mean, we put some modules out. We might have made $50 on one of our modules we put out. That's nothing. It's nothing. So I could have Zach working on any other number of things that have way better ROI than putting out a Roll20 module. It's crazy. So no, that's a no-go. We did 2 of them literally, and then we're like, this is stupid. We're done. Now Foundry VTT, now that's a whole different story. See, I can sell those, and they are being sold literally right now through my own site, the dmlair.com, our Shopify, you know, and it works very beautifully. And I gotta say, the Foundry VTT folks are amazing. My contact Matt is like phenomenal. Like I have a direct contact with someone there, and he's helping me get set up the whole process to make sure that I'm like positioned for success and stuff. And it's stinking sweet. So they did an amazing job. Whereas at Roll20, I was just kind of like, I don't know, man, whatever. So anyway, Foundry is really, really cool. All right, now let's try to find some questions here. Woo. When writing, so this is Doc Bradford. When writing an adventure, after developing an outline, where do you go next? Well, what do you mean by outline? So if I have an outline of what I'm going to have in the adventure, then I have to flesh out what the adventure is going to be. So let me just show you an example. Let me show you an example of what I did for my not my Ancient Dragon group, my Pathfinder 2 group. Let me show you like what an adventure looks like for them. And that might give you an idea of where you need to go, because I'm not totally certain where you're starting. But let me find an example of an adventure I wrote for them. Now, but bear in mind, this is something I run here for my players. So this is not like, you know, publication quality. This is just what I need to actually run a game. So let me find a good example of this. We should go to miscellaneous quests. Yeah, let's go to this one. This is a good one. Other areas of the log. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna pull up one right now, and we'll take a look at this. Whee! I will share my screen with you so you can see what we're talking about. Monitor, center. Okay, you can see this. So basically, there was a dungeon. Let me show you the map of the dungeon so you can see the map. The map's pretty cool. Where is the map? That's the player map. Is this my map? Where's my map? That wasn't it. Pull my map. There we go. Okay, so this is the map of the dungeon. It's a massive dungeon. They don't get much bigger than this. So I had fleshed out the highlighted part in yellow, and then my players were like gonna start exploring more of it, and so then I had to flesh out more of it. I didn't flesh out the whole dungeon all at once. And then what I'm gonna show you is this like western wing area of what I did. So I basically have I have some random encounters that I just put in here just in case I needed them. This is Pathfinder 2, by the way. Bear in mind, this is Pathfinder 2. I have some random encounters. It's the same whether you're doing a D&D 5e or Pathfinder 2, building an adventure. Like the mechanics are different, the concepts are all the same. And then I literally just have like, this is one area. Okay, I have like a bullet point of some descriptive text, and then I have an encounter. There it is. Now, remember, when I run encounters in my games, everything doesn't just attack, right? Things have motivations, and it's not just going to be attack. But I improvise at the game table. I don't need to decide that necessarily in advance. I might, but I might not. But these are the notes I need to be able to run it at the game table. I don't need anything else. And then this area right here, I have some brief notes about what's in there, and then I have an encounter, and then I have some loot. There you go. Now this loot might have been under some debris in the corner. I might have put it in a chest. I might have put it in a secret cubby hole they had to find. I don't know. Sometimes that gets improvised at the game table. I just know there's loot in there. And when we start running at the game table, I'll decide where that is. I should probably zoom in a Digen so you can see that. Again, here you go. Another area. Now this one I actually decided that it was in a chest, and I decided the chest was locked. Look at that. Whee! And then just as notes. Now here for these drow, I did flesh this out a little bit more because this ties in with a lot of the campaign that I'm running. The campaign is set in Eberron, and a lot of it takes place in the Mirar Holds. And in the realm below, there are Dalkir, and it's the Dalkir Lord Durn the Corruptor is the one running the show underneath the Mirar Holds. And these Umbregan drow have some information about that, and so my players ran into them, and this is some specific notes about that. And so this is much more fleshed out because it's important for the campaign. But this just gives you an idea, you know. Here I have an encounter, and I made some notes about why they're there and stuff, you know. So anyway, this is all I do. This is what I do for an adventure that I'm going to run at home. You're just making basic notes. You might use like ChatGPT to give you ideas and stuff, to help you think up things and brainstorm stuff. It can't do all the work for you, but it can help, you know, give you some creative ideas and stuff like that. But that's really all you do. Now, so this is not an outline, obviously. There's very specific details here, but something like this is probably where you want to go if you are fleshing out. Where's my map? If you're fleshing out a dungeon like this, or a location-based adventure, it doesn't have to be in a dungeon specifically. It could be a castle, it could be whatever. Then you're going to want to have, basically what I have notes about each of the areas, so I know what's in the areas. So when my players go there, I'm prepared. I'm not just pulling crap out of my butt and winging it. I have an idea of what's going on. Now, I don't actually have this entire dungeon fleshed out. Like this entire northern part and a lot of the eastern part, I have no idea what's there whatsoever. If my players happen to go there, then I do have some how I'm gonna handle that. I have a table that I'll roll on to see if the room is empty, if there is an encounter, what the difficulty of that encounter is. And then I have an online tool here that I was gonna randomly generate encounters if I needed to. Because this dungeon right here, when I presented it to my players, like they weren't here to go through the entire dungeon. They were here for a specific purpose. And I fleshed out that specific purpose, and I was kind of hoping that they would figure out the right way to go, and they actually did. But if they didn't, then I was gonna randomly generate stuff. So anyway, so I ended up fleshing out the first part. They went into there, and then they started going into the other part over here. And then during in between game sessions, I fleshed out a whole bunch more content for them. Because it's my preference to prepare it ahead of time, because I'll run a much better game if I have the basic notes that I showed you, right? But if I had to, I could run the game session like this. It's gonna take me a tidgen more time in between each of the rooms, because I'm gonna have to roll some dice and then maybe do a random encounter generator thing, you know, and then I'll just make stuff up. I could do it if I had to, not my preference. And this is one of those things, I don't usually do this sort of thing, but it was like, I'm just gonna do this just and see how it works if I have to, you know? And I only had to do it like for one room, and then the game session ended, and then I was able to prep the rest of it between sessions, but it worked pretty well. So I don't know if this helps, but this is probably something like this is where you wanna go after you have an outline. And that's going to help you know what to do in each of your rooms when your players come across the stuff in the room. And how many notes in here you need to put is going to depend upon you as a personal game master, and how comfortable you are with improvising, and how much extra information you need here. A lot of times I try to keep this as basic as I can, but then when there's something special, I'll make some more notes here, right? Prep and prepare and write down as much as you need for you to help you run the game. And that is going to differ for everybody. All right, looking for questions. Drop your questions in chat. If you already threw a question in, you can throw it in again. That's perfectly fine, because otherwise I probably won't be able to see them. So feel free to repost your question. It's all good. We also have a giveaway going on, guys. Join the giveaway. Win a copy of Into the Fae or DM Lair store credit. And remember, we have Foundry VTT modules now available. Lighting, tokens, stat blocks, journal entries. It's beautiful. It's like high quality crap. How has your switch to Pathfinder 2 gone so far? Things you like, things you dislike. Yeah, so let's do the thing that I think there are probably two things I dislike about Pathfinder 2. So we can hit those. The two things that come to my mind immediately about disliking Pathfinder 2. The very first thing is the organization of this book. My group and I, so like my players and I will be like, we joke about this because there is this rule chain that happens. So like you want to know how something works, and so you open the book up and you're like, all right, well, how's this work? And you look at it and it's like, oh, it does this. Oh, I gotta find what that is. All right, and then you go look for it. It's like, oh, okay, we found what that is. Oh, now it does this other thing, and there's this condition. Okay, we go look at that. There's this rule chain that happens when you're looking something up. You're going from like, you can look at 3 different places in this book sometimes to find the actual details about the thing you're trying to find. And it is highly annoying. It slows down gameplay. I really wish that everything, like if I want to know how a thing works, I want it to be in one spot. Just tell me how it works. This happens a lot with monster stat blocks as well. Like I'll be looking up a monster and it's like, oh, it does this damage plus grab. Oh, well, what does grab do? Like I gotta go look at the back to see how grab works. And grab takes an action. Okay, cool. Then I gotta use an action if I want to grab. But then there's improved grab, which we had to use that last game session. Apparently that doesn't take an action, you get it for free. But there's this chain of having to look things up that is really annoying. It slows down the game, and we all just joke about it constantly. If you watch my Thieves Abound campaign, which is on my other channel, the Damn Lair Streams, you will probably hear us talk about this lookup chain a lot because it gets annoying after a while. So I think that's probably the first thing that comes to my mind that's really annoying. It's the organization of that book and not being able to find things easily. Half the time when I want to find a rule, I don't even look at that book. I go to Archives of Nethys and I look it up there because it could take me forever to go from page to page to page to page to try to find where a rule is. So it is cool that Archives of Nethys is 100% free and has all the rules. But that I think is one of the things that really annoys me about Pathfinder 2. And that's not even a comment on the game system. That's just how the book is organized and stuff. And I know why they did it that way. If you repeat rules, if you put everything all in one place, it takes up more space, and then there's multiple places where the same concept or rule is mentioned. And then I understand why they chose to do it that way, I think, but man, it is not user friendly. It's very, very unuser friendly. My cat is rubbing against you can't just rub against everything. Look you're screwing up my camera. You can't do that. If you want to be up here, if you want to be on stream, you have to behave. Do you understand? You gonna behave? Yeah, you gonna behave? I don't think he's gonna behave. I think he's gonna go right over there and rub against the camera again. Little guy. Why don't you go put your hair somewhere else? So that's the first thing I think that annoys me. The other thing is there are certain complexities to it that I was trying to do, and then I was just like, you know what, this takes too long. I'm giving up on this. So for instance, in combat, the most optimal thing isn't always to just attack 3 times. In fact, that's usually not the best thing to do. You want to do something like intimidate, or he's just gonna keep rubbing against my camera. Or you want to use like what is it called? Feint and stuff like this. Or you might want to shove somebody or something. You might want to do some of these different like options that you have in combat because it could be very tactically strategic and good to do that. But I tried doing that for a while, and man, it just, I don't know, it just seems like it slowed the combats down and stuff and made things more complex. Now I just gave up on it. When I'm running my monsters, I don't screw with that crap. I'm just, you know what? My monsters are going to attack. If they attack 3 times, I don't care. They're just going to attack 3 times. And the 3rd time you got that multiple attack penalty at a -10, you're probably not going to hit. But I'm just going to see if I can get a 20 out of it. So I gave up on that. I want to run quick, smooth games. I don't want to have my nose trying, and part of this is because I'm not extremely familiar with the rules. And so if I want to do some of these things, I have to look up the rules and we have to figure it out, you know? And I think that's part of it. I know that's part of it. I know people, after you've played for a while, you're going to know them like the back of your hand and it won't be a problem. But at this point, I just want to run a smooth game where we all have fun. And I don't want to worry about these fiddly bits. Now, I know there are fiddly bits in D&D 5e and other systems and stuff, but I think that's something that at least for Pathfinder 2, it's just like, you know what? I don't really care. I don't want to demoralize. I don't want to intimidate. I just want to swing at people, and, you know, and I'll flank. I'll do stuff like that. I might try to push somebody if there's a reason to push them, you know, like off a cliff or something. But I just didn't want to mess around with that stuff. And so I kind of gave up on that. But that's not like, I don't think that's a comment against the system. I think that's a comment against me. Like, it's just, I don't want to mess around with all those fiddly bits, you know? We had, I guess, a third thing that we struggled with a lot, and it's still kind of a pain, is all of the conditions. Tracking the conditions is kind of crazy. All of the little conditions. Oh my goodness. I finally bought these condition cards that were like $20 so that we can have cards on the table that track the conditions, because man, it was getting really confusing and it was hard to remember what conditions. So now what I do is I have little rings that I will put around a character to indicate that they have a condition. And then we have the cards that will have, like, you know, if it's stunned 1 or stunned 2 or stunned 3, we have the cards that track the conditions. And that helps out a lot. And I literally delegate the condition cards to Joe, one of my players, and he has all the condition cards. And when somebody gets a condition, he is responsible for putting that condition card on somebody and then helping to keep track of that. And that helps out a lot. Those condition cards help out amazingly. So that actually alleviated a lot of those problems. And it's a little bit better now. So I think that, yeah, I think those are the things that kind of come to my mind. I know too, for the skills, there are lots of detailed rules for skills and how to use skills. Like if you're going to intimidate somebody, there's like detailed skills for using that. And I don't know, I kind of followed those a little bit, and then I was just like, you know what, I just, you know, just make an intimidation check. I will adjudicate what happens. I will decide what happens. It's so much easier for me to just decide what happens, as opposed to being like, well, according to this, if they intimidate and their starting like demeanor was neutral, then the successful intimidate would have this effect. And it's just like, okay, I mean, yeah, that's great. You know, I just kind of gave up on that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to adjudicate it. We're just going to roll with it. So I guess I'm just finding that there are somewhat, and I do the same thing for 5th edition too. I'm sure that similar rules exist for 5th edition. I'm just like, you know what? That's just too heavy for me. I'm just not going to worry about that stuff. So I think I'm just finding, at first when I was running Pathfinder 2, I was very concerned about, I want to follow all the rules to the letter and try to do it. And then as I was doing it, I was just like, man, you know, I think we're going to have more fun if I just don't worry about half of these rules, and you know. So I don't know. I think that's kind of where I'm landing on. So now, but here's the thing. Now that I've stopped worrying so much about following all the rules, I'm having a lot more fun, you know, and it's way more enjoyable because I'm just like, you know what? We're just going to do the best we can. And, you know, I'll just adjudicate, and we might have to look things up, you know, especially in combat. Combat, it's important to follow the rules in combat because that can make a big difference, you know. But like if you're doing social interactions or exploration is important to you, because if you're dealing with traps and stuff, you know, that can be important. So, but I'm having a lot more fun now that I'm not worried about the rules quite so much. Now, there are some rules like encounter building, like I need to make sure I know how that works, because that is very, very important, because if you don't build your encounters right, you know, in Pathfinder 2, things could go south very, very quickly. There's less margin for error than in 5th edition, where you only have error in 5th edition because their challenge building, their challenge rating system sucks so bad. So anyway, but I'm enjoying it now. I'm definitely enjoying it. I think there was a part there was a part at the beginning where I was like super excited for Pathfinder 2, and then as I was getting into the rules, you know, I was like, okay, a lot of these rules sound really cool. And then we started playing it, and I was just like, oh man, keeping track of all the rules. And then there was this point where I was like, oh geez, man. But when I reached the point where I was like, you know what, just screw it. Then I relaxed a little bit, and now I'm having fun, and I'm enjoying it. So now, yeah. So that's cool. And then, yeah, so I think that's probably how I'm sitting now as I'm doing Pathfinder 2. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Was that the question? Was that the entire question? Yeah, dude, Foundry, Pathfinder 2 on Foundry, huge advantages there for sure, because it handles a lot of those rule things. I think one of the things too that I really wish Pathfinder 2 monsters had is average damage. Average damage in the monster stat blocks would be a huge quality of life improvement for me, because, like, you know, I want to run the game. I don't want to roll dice and add numbers. I don't. Look it. I took Calc 1, 2, and 3 in differential equations. I had a 3.5 GPA in those classes. I'm not bad at math, but there's a lot of crap game masters are doing at the game table. And when I have to, in addition to everything else, I also have to roll dice and add numbers together. Like, it's just every little thing, every little cognitive task that I have to do, it adds up. And if I can take away having to roll dice and add stuff, that's beautiful. It speeds things up. It makes my job easier. And that's what average damage does. And that's when I switched to average damage for D&D 5e, it made a world of difference in my combats. I didn't have to worry about that little thing anymore, and it freed up some space in my brain to do other stuff. And so I really wish the stat blocks had average damage in them. So I can see how running it in Foundry is amazing, because you just click a button and it does it all. And the other thing too that gets more complicated as well and can be more challenging is that, so in 5th edition, when you roll a d20 and you have to add your to hit modifier, most to hit modifiers are in the single digits. And so adding a d20 roll to a single digit number, pretty straightforward. We're only level 4 now, I think, in Pathfinder 2. And I'm already starting to have monsters that have double digit to hit bonuses. And now I'm having to add 2 double digit numbers together. So I get like a 17 and a 12, and I'm like, okay, hold on a second, 17 and 12, 29, got it. You know, but it's just that little bit of extra cognitive load, you know, that I have to think a little bit more, and it just slows things down. It puts a little bit more wear and tear on my brain as I go, you know. And so there's those little things. So I can definitely see playing it in Foundry, there's some benefits there. It automates a lot of that crap for you. Yeah, for sure. I don't care for rolling dice. I just don't care. Like, I like getting critical hits, but I don't care about rolling dice. It doesn't excite me. That's not the part of the game that excites me, you know? I love creating the adventures, you know, like prepping before a game and creating these dungeons and things, and like planning out like, oh, okay, the Dalkir doing this, and then these drow, I can tie those in, and they were fighting the Dalkir and they have information about it, you know? And then my players are gonna, and this dungeon right here was created by this clan of dwarves who now serve the Dalkir, and there might be some clues here. Like, all of that kind of stuff, that's super interesting to me, you know, and building all of that out is super interesting to me. I could care less about rolling dice, you know, just don't care. I have some cool dice. I don't have a lot of dice, but I have some cool dice at least. All right. Hey, what's going on with my thing here? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. I do want to say though, lest you think that I'm dunking on Pathfinder 2, my criticisms of D&D 5e are much stronger, much stronger. So I feel like with Pathfinder 2, I have minor annoyances. With D&D 5th edition, I have big complaints, massive complaints. So just in case you're thinking that I'm just dunking on Paizo and Pathfinder 2, no, not at all. I think it's a good system. I'm enjoying it. I'm having lots of fun. And if I were to deep dive into 5th edition, it would be an epic rant about the lack of game design around the challenge rating system, the inability to manage challenge. It would just be an epic, beautiful thing. And we've gone there before, so there's no need to do it again. In fact, I do actually have a video coming out sometime in October. Yes, I have an October video coming out where I will literally compare. I will give the advantages of Pathfinder 2 and then the advantages of 5th edition. And I gotta be honest, when I'm going over the advantages of Pathfinder 2, I'm heavily criticizing D&D 5th edition at the same time, because there are lots of things that Pathfinder 2 does very well that D&D 5th edition drops the ball on big time. Now, D&D 5th edition also has some advantages, things that I like as well. But I'm gonna do a video on that in October. It's gonna come out in a couple weeks, so you guys can all watch that. But I just want to be clear that I'm not dunking on Pathfinder 2. I have minor annoyances. D&D 5th edition, I got way more complaints. So I just want to be clear on that, because people might interpret my little criticisms as like thinking it sucks, and that's not the case at all. No, Meepy, I don't want to go into the 5th edition rant. We've done that before. We've done that many times before. There's no sense. It would be fun, but yes, average damage is average for a reason. It averages out, so it doesn't make a difference. What I did start doing though in my 5th edition games is for boss fights, I stopped using average damage unless I forget. Because some of my players gave me some feedback and they were like, yo, Luke, you know, average damage is cool, but for a boss fight, it might make it more exciting for us if the damage fluctuates, because then sometimes it's a lot, and that can make things even more tense. And I was like, that's really good. That's a good thought. And so what I do my best for boss fights not to use average damage for that very purpose, that reason right there. Have you heard of Dark Souls? I have heard of it. I've heard that people play it. I know that it is a video game. I have heard that it's a very challenging video game. Or have heard the lore. No, I don't know anything about the lore of it. No, I don't play a lot of video games. I did like probably about 5 years ago. I played lots of video games. I played video games all the time. Every day I would play video games. Especially there was this Dungeons and Dragons Online, DDO. I played that every single day for a couple hours. Other days I'd play for even more. I was big, huge into video games, crazy into video games. And do you know what I have to show for it? Nothing. I spent so much time playing video games when I could have been spending more time with my family, with my daughter. Like anything would have been more productive and fulfilling and had better results than video games. So I feel like I spent so much time in my life playing video games. Now I just don't have time to play video games, but I don't regret that at all. I don't, because like when I think about my life and like years ago when I was playing tons of video games, I have regrets. And if I could have replaced the video games with other things, I would feel better about myself right now. So I don't really care about not being able to having time to play video games. You know, I'm doing other stuff that has more lasting benefits and results, you know, in my life, for the business, for my family and stuff, for my own self, like, you know, spiritually, the things I'm doing. So, yeah, I don't play any video games right now. I just don't have time for it. Everybody's like, Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm like, that sounds really fun, but I don't have time for that. I just don't have time for it, you know? And there was like, what was it? Somebody, everyone, so right now in the D&D niche, like everyone is releasing Baldur's Gate 3 videos because, you know, views, baby. And it's the popular thing right now. And there were a couple of content creators that made a video, and I watched like 5 seconds of it because it auto played or something, and then I turned it off. Because I mostly watch like finance stuff or business stuff or world event stuff. I think a lot on YouTube if I'm watching videos. But their opening line of the video was something around the lines of like, "So we've been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3 recently," and then that was where I stopped the video when I went somewhere else. And yeah, everybody's playing a lot of that. I don't do that. I don't have time for that. So I'm out of the loop, completely out of the loop for video games. Yes, Gonzalo, Eberron is amazing. I love Eberron. Yeah, Keith Baker. So yeah, that's what I've been told. I've been told that the reason the Eberron books are amazing is that Keith Baker is a genius. Any advice for a small studio just starting out with producing third-party content? I think the biggest thing I can tell you is to do it. Just do it. You have to just put stuff out there, and the stuff you put out at the beginning is probably going to suck, and you just got to throw it out there, and you got to just focus on getting better. Everything you put out, try to make it a little bit better. Like the very first things that I put out on Drive-Thru RPG sucked. They were PDFs and they sucked horribly. You just got to focus on getting a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. If you're, let's pretend that you're making Foundry modules or something. Well, you just try to make them the best you can, and you keep getting better at it. If it's adventures, you try to get better at writing adventures. Look at what other people are doing. Look at what the standard of quality is. What are you trying to, like, look at the stuff that other companies produce that have done well. You know, how does Paizo write their adventures? How does Wizards of the Coast write their adventures? How do, like, you might look at how I write our adventures, or how Zach and I write them now, I guess. We have freelancers that write them too. But how do we write our adventures? You know, look at lots of different people, see how they do their things, and then learn from that. I'm not saying you copy everything they do. Maybe there are things they do that you don't think are the optimal way to do it, and you want to do it differently. But you can survey what's out there to kind of see what your competition is, and see where the bar is, and see where you gotta be at, right? To gain customers and stuff like that. But if you wait and you don't put any content out until you hit that bar, you'll probably never hit that bar, because it takes a lot of time of producing content to slowly get better until you can hit that quality standard bar, right? So you got to put stuff out there, even if it sucks, and even if it isn't where you want it to be, because by doing that, you're going to practice those skills that'll help you to get things out there. And then continue to try to improve, look at what other people are doing, and then try to do better and try to meet the standards they have, right? I don't know what you're publishing or what you're producing and stuff is, but writing quality is a big thing. Most people think they can write, and very few people can, but you can usually spot crappy writing very, very quickly. So whatever you're writing, you're writing something if you're producing content, would be my guess. Maybe not. Maybe it's images or something like that. But work on writing. Make sure your writing is tight. Maybe get an editor if you need an editor or something, I guess. Can't go wrong with that. And if you have a budget, you know, you can pay people to do the things that you're not good at. That's kind of what we do. We don't make maps, so we pay cartographers to make maps for us. I can't make puzzles for the life of me. Zach, I don't know if Zach can make puzzles or not. Probably, Zach, if you can make puzzles, you probably want to be quiet. So we pay other people to make puzzles for our publications because we're not good at it. I know I'm not. But we can write adventures. Zach and I can write adventures. So guess what? We are now writing, I think, all of the adventures we publish because we're good at it. And so the things that you're good at, do those things. And if you can pay people to do the other things that you can't do or you're not so good at, that will help a lot. It saves you time. Because usually when you're good at something, not only are you good at it, but you're more efficient at it, and it takes you less time. When you're bad at something, not only are you bad at it, but it takes you longer to be bad at it. So you can save time and make a better product if you're able to outsource certain things to different people. But a lot of times you have to bootstrap everything and do it on your own until you get a certain level of success, at which point you're actually making some money to be able to pay people to do other things. However, you probably have a day job, which means that you could use some of the money from that to pay other people to do the thing that'll help your side business or whatever, I'm assuming, do better. So there are options out there. Yeah, we'll let Claire do the puzzles for us. Yes. Yeah, good editor. We have an amazing editor right now. She is worth her weight in gold. We just bought her for an entire month because we're so in probably around April next year. I think about April next year, we're releasing Lairs and Legends 2, which will take all of 2020 issues of Lair magazine and put them into a physical book content. And we're hoping to make a Foundry module out of it too. Still looking into that though. But early 2024, we'll be doing Lairs and Legends 2, and we literally just bought our editor for an entire month so that she can edit the content of that book for us. So yeah, she does like, so for her to edit Lairs and Lair magazine, she works for us for like 1 week every month, but we needed her for an entire month. So we were just like, oh, here's a bunch of money. Why don't you just work for us for a month? And we got it to work, which was great because she's amazing. Yes, Mo, 100%. If you wait to release a perfect module, it will never happen. Nope. Justin says he's looking at adventures and campaign settings. What you're gonna find is that adventures are probably gonna be in much higher demand than campaign settings. And let me tell you why. First of all, there are a lot of game masters who make their own settings and they don't care about campaign settings. They might use adventures though. But then there are lots of game masters too that use Forgotten Realms, or they use, where's Pathfinders? It's Gamora, Gamaya, Gilgamoth or something. Wherever Pathfinder 2 has like a standard world. I always forget what the name of it is. It starts with a G. I know it starts with a G, and there's an L in there, and I think there's an R. It starts with a G, there's an L, and there's an R in there. Somebody knows what it is. There we go, Galorian, thank you. See, I knew that there were some letters in there. So whether it's Eberron, whether it's Galorian or Forgotten Realms or wherever, there are lots of game masters already use a pre-made campaign setting. So you might have a campaign setting that you love and you want to publish it. Just be prepared that there probably is going to be very low demand for it. Like I literally saw, actually I shouldn't mention his name, but he's a very well-known person with very, very impressive D&D family lineage who did a Kickstarter for his own campaign setting, and it didn't do that well by Kickstarter standards. And my only thought is that it's because it was a campaign setting and people don't care about campaign settings as much. So I would be hesitant to do a campaign setting. My team and I were thinking about doing our own campaign setting, and then we were like, but you're not going to make any money, dude. We're going to spend tons of work, tons of time, and it's not going to be successful. Okay, cool. Then we should probably do something that people actually care about, because that's, see, when you're making a product, you want to think about, what do customers want? What do people want? What are people looking for? Like, you don't want to make a product that nobody wants. Like, because sure, you're not going to make any money on it, but you're also not the reason you don't make any money is because you're not creating something that has value. Like, if people don't value it, that means they don't buy it. So you need to create something that people want, that they'll find value in, because then they'll give you value in return, which is paying you for it, right? So it's not just, yes, it's making money, but it's also, the reason you make money is because you create something that people want and they're willing to give you their hard-earned money for it, right? So just a word of caution about campaign settings, I suppose, because, you know, even if you have like a really well-established brand and name and good marketing and stuff, it might not do that well. It's a lot of work. All right, throw your questions in the chat. Throw your questions. Little guy's back up here again. I'm gonna see if I can find some more questions here from folks. If you ask the question, you can repeat it. You're welcome to repeat it. This little guy. What's up, little guy?
He's like, I like daddy. Yeah, give me some attention. Give me some attention. Let's go. Let's go.
All right, you're gonna hang out on top of me today?
Oh, yeah.
This guy never does this. Little guy doesn't come up here very often. But today he just wants to be up in my business. Look at this little guy. Yeah. I saw a question in chat too. Where was that? This was from Caveman Bum. My players have left a dozen plot points on the table in our recent campaign, moving on according to their own whims. How can I get them back without railroading them? I think you got a couple things you can do. The first thing is to consider, were your plot points well established? Like, were they presented well? There are 3 different things you need to do when you're putting forth an adventure hook or a plot point. In order to have the best chance that players are going to bite them and actually do the thing. First of all, there needs to be a motivating factor. There needs to be a motivating factor. Now, you can appeal to the characters or you can appeal to the players. So if you know that the characters are mercenaries and they just want money and magic items, well, then you can just put money and magic items as a potential reward for something to motivate them. Now, if you know your players like certain things in the game, like you might have some players who love the idea of exploring these deep, dark, dank dungeons because there might be cool stuff down there, or it's just exciting, or there are traps for whatever reason. If you know that they enjoy dungeons, you can use that as a hook. So you can appeal to players, you can appeal to their characters, but you got to have a motivating factor. If you don't have a motivating factor, then there's no reason for them to go do the thing besides the social contract, besides the fact that, oh, the game master put this thing here and we're supposed to do it. But you can only rely on that to a certain extent. You really want to motivate them to go there. So you got to have a motivating factor. The next thing is, it needs to be clear what they're supposed to do. If you could say, look at, money or something, but if it's not clear what they're supposed to do, what the goal is, or even how they could possibly accomplish it, or if it seems too crazy or impossible, well, then they're going to pass on it. It's like, well, you got a reward, but like, we don't even know what we're supposed to do really. It's confusing or whatever. That's a problem. So it needs to be clear what they have to do. Motivate them, make it clear. And the third thing is you got to tell them where to get started. Like, where do they get started? Like, is there a dungeon over here? Do you go talk to this person? Is it in the next town over? You got to give them the direction to go in. If they're properly motivated, they know what needs to be accomplished, and they know how to get started, then that is going to ease the path, grease up that path so that they have a more likelihood of going down it. If you're lacking any of those things, then it can be more challenging to get your players to go do a thing. Now you might say, well, I just throw them little simple rumors. Well, little simple rumors that's not a plot point. That's not even a hook. Like, if I'm a player in your game and you throw out a little bit of a rumor, as far as I know, you could have a table of rumors that are just random and that you're just throwing out at me. I don't know that those are things for you that you actually want us to go pursue. Like, are those things that you've actually like prepared an adventure for? Or are you just throwing out rumors at the tavern to like, make your game seem more realistic and stuff? So you gotta give a really well-established plot hook to them, following those 3 points I mentioned. Now, at that point, if you are doing that and you're putting these things out there, and especially if you're actually planning the adventures and writing up notes and everything for those adventures, and then they keep on passing, at that point, then you might appeal to them and you might say, listen, guys, I keep giving you adventure hooks and these things that you could go do, and you guys ignore them every single time. What's going on here? Like, why do you guys ignore all the adventure hooks constantly? And you figure out why they ignore them. They might give you some useful information and you'll be like, there's this thing that I should do or something. I might be able to help them more. Maybe it could be something as simple as they're just like, just tell us when it's an adventure hook, because sometimes we just don't recognize it or something. It might be that they are intentionally ignoring it. I once had a friend, John, who told me that his players would intentionally, if they knew that it was a adventure hook, something that he had planned and prepared for them to do, they would intentionally ignore it. Like, outright, intentionally, we're not going to do that thing because you dropped an adventure hook. Now, at that point, as a game master, I'm gonna big time out. If you guys recognize the adventure hooks, right, and you're intentionally ignoring them because you just don't want to do anything that I've planned, well, then we got a problem here. We got a big problem. Now, the problem might be that I'm planning stuff that's completely uninteresting to them, and they don't want to do that stuff. Well, then we have to reset here, because in an ideal situation, I really need to have a campaign premise and a story that interests the players. And this should have been a session 0 conversation. Like, for my Thieves Abound campaign, before we ever started playing, before we put our butts in those chairs, one of the very first things I did was I sent an email to all my players, and I was like, this is what I'm thinking our campaign would be about. And I laid out the idea I had for the Marar holds in Eberron and general information. They would be agents of House Kundarak, but they would have to be clandestine agents, which means none of them could be dwarves. That was a limitation. There were no others, just couldn't be a dwarf. And then I gave some basic information. Does this sound interesting to you guys? I wanted their buy-in on that campaign premise, because if I didn't get buy-in from them, then I might come up with something that I thought was cool, but my players don't care about. And so that's something to check with them. Like, ask them, why are you ignoring all of our plot hooks? Why? Because from your point of view, it's super frustrating, and I totally get it. And you might be angry, and potentially rightly so. But your players might not care about your campaign. They might not care about the adventures. They might not care about your plot hooks. They might have other things that they're more interested in doing. And if that's the case, well, then you can either say, go get new players, or you can say, okay, well, let's figure out a way that we can run a game that I am both interested in running as a game master, but also interests you as players. And if we can figure out what interests you and what you want to do, then I might be able to make a campaign that is in alignment with that. And it might have to do with things you've already kind of prepared, and you just tweak them a little bit to bring them in alignment with what your players want to do. Because if you can figure out what your players want and what they're after and run a campaign that is in alignment with that, well, then everybody's happy. As long as you enjoy doing it and your players want to do it, everybody wins. But if it's more of a story of you're running the campaign that you want to run, and it's something that interests you, but your players don't give a flying crap, well, then they're going to run from every plot hook that you put on the table. It doesn't matter if you motivate them. It doesn't matter if you are clear about what it is. It doesn't matter if you tell them where to go to get started. They just don't care because they want to do something else. So you need to try to align those motivation, those desired and that desired in. Align that thing, put that thing into alignment with your players. And that involves a conversation. You got to talk to them, right? You got to figure out what's going on. And so you got to do that. You definitely got to do that. Now, let's move to the next possible scenario, because it's entirely possible that your players just hate you. Your players might literally just be subverting anything that you plan intentionally for no other purpose than they just don't want to do anything that you plan. And they will avoid it no matter what. Even if they say they're interested in these things, you could go make adventures and plot hooks about those things, and they will ignore them every single time because they want to ignore everything that you do. And they're intentionally subverting your efforts and all of the work you put into preparing those things. Now, if you have a situation like that, you have a couple choices, I think. And this is probably what my friend John, I think, was dealing with when he was explaining to me his group that would always go away from what he had planned. My recollection is that he was dealing with players like this. They were intentionally just like, if he planned it, they would go in the other direction just because. So if you have players like that, and you've determined that through conversation most likely, and through observation and experience, you got really two options. The first option is what I would be inclined to do. I would probably just be like, you guys are a bunch of jerks, man. That is totally not cool. I'm gonna go run a game for players who aren't jerks, because that's not cool. That's super not cool, you guys. I personally would probably get rid of those players. I would almost assuredly classify them as undesirable players, and I would find different players that would respect the time the game master puts into the game, assuming that I'm running a game that interests them, right? Because if I'm running a game that nobody cares about, I can't expect them to just go along and file along for the ride, right? I still need to run a game they care about and enjoy playing, right? So that you need to have that agreement and that alignment. But if I'm trying to run a game that they say that they want to do, and they're just ignoring it and they're going the opposite direction just to spite me, just to screw me over because they get jollies from it or something, I'm probably going to drop those players. Probably what I'm going to do. However, there is another option. There is another thing that you can do. You could do something more like a West Marches type of game where you say, hey, players, I'm not preparing anything. You tell me what you want to do. You decide on an adventure, a quest, an objective that you want to accomplish as a group, because I'm running a group game, not individual games. We're not doing like a campaign of downtime where you pursue individual goals. This is a group game. You tell me as a group what you want to do. Once you've told me that, I will prepare that adventure for you. And then we will go over to our game table and we will play that adventure out. And that might work for you. That might appeal to them. But if you do that, and then butts are in seats, and you literally make the adventure that they said they wanted to do, and then they still do something else, you gotta get rid of those guys. Holy crap. You gotta get rid of those guys. So there you go. That is how to deal with players who are not biting plot hooks, players who are intentionally going the opposite direction. There's a whole bunch of things there. There's a cascade of events, one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, right? You got to make sure that you are making good adventure hooks. You got to make sure that you are running a game that they want to play that appeals to them. And then you got to make sure that you have good, decent human beings as players. I think those are like the big 3 check boxes, you know, to go through as you're trying to figure out this whole process. All right, looking for more questions now. If you have a question, throw it in chat. If we didn't get to it, you can repost it, not a problem. As a reminder, we have a giveaway going on today. There should be a link in chat somewhere. We're giving away a copy of Into the Fae, level 1 to 5 adventure module for 5e, or DM Lair store credit. And we now have available Foundry VTT modules as well. So you can grab some of those off the DM Lair store. Ooh, that's a pretty good question. There's some good questions right there. I need to get some coffee. I'll be back in a hot second. Stand by.
Are you a dungeon master? Do you want to be a dungeon master? Do you have blue face paint on your face? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you're just like me. Not only do you enjoy smashing players in the face with your axe every time they metagame, but you're also a busy person, and while prepping for a D&D game, well, sometimes that's hard. And as much as you'd like to force one of your players to run D&D for a change, well, they all suck, so it's pretty much up to you to be the forever dungeon master. And that's exactly why I get out my crayons every month and write a new issue of Lair magazine. Well, I mean, it's not just me, I have a team of people too. We all get out our crayons and write it, but yeah. Anyway, every issue of Lair magazine contains 5th edition Dungeon Master resources to help you reduce your prep time while still running amazing games for your lazy, good-for-nothing players. Every issue of Lair magazine contains 2 to 3 adventures complete with maps for online play. You know, we also sprinkle in other stuff like puzzles and traps, which which, let's be honest, both suck to have to make yourself. So, I mean, wouldn't you rather just become a DM Lair patron and pay me to write them for you? I mean, you know, my team and I, with our crayons? Now, if you love your wonderful players as much as I do, consider helping me to meet my sales quota by becoming a DM Lair patron today at the link below. You'll get a new issue of Lair magazine every month and other cool stuff like map packs and bonus adventures. Okay, that's it. Please become a DM Lair patron now or I will find you.
All right. Oh, where's the button? You guys want to see something? You want to see something cool? You want to see my dog freak out? I'm gonna give my dog some. My wife has dinner for our dog. That's what I have right here. Where's the? That's not the right one. There we go. You're gonna see her freak out. Check this out. Zoe, Zoe, we have food. Sleeping. Zoe, Zoe, Zoe. Hey. Zoe, come on. Little guy. Lats. Oh, we should give some snacks to my cats too. Watch out. Watch out. Come here, mommy. Cats are getting their food. Here we go. There are a bunch of them. Oh, orange is going in the box. Orange is going in the box. We actually have a command for cats. Meepy, if you put in exclamation point cats, I think that will list all the cats' names. I'm pretty sure that works. See if that works. There we go. Oh, we actually have another cat. We have 8 cats now. Hold on, let me update that. We have more cats. I got an extra cat. I'm gonna update that list really quick. Oh, he actually is here now. He's literally came up on my desk. He's like, "Hey, you called?" This is Twitch. He's our new cat. I mean, he's an old boy, but he's new to us. Well, kind of. Twitch. There we go. All right. There. Now throw it again. Do that same command again, Meepy. Only moderators can make that command, by the way. Do that one again, and it'll list Twitch on there. He's a big boy. He comes up on my desk like this. Just walks around. He's a big boy. He's a loud purr. Crazy loud purr. What's up, buddy? What's up, big boy? He stinks too. He's got old man breath. Do you have a dice bag? Yeah, I have a dice bag. I have a few different dice bags. Are you talking about dice bags that we sell? We actually, I actually do have quite a few extra dice bags from our very first Kickstarter, and I probably should put those up on our store and actually sell them, because they're just sitting in my basement in a box right now. If that's what you're asking, I do. I just don't have them on our store. I should probably put them up there at some point. All right, can you let me drink my coffee, buddy? He's gonna rub against my cup. And he's just prowling back and forth. Oh, there was a magic items for Fate of the Dragon Queen. Should I allow them to bring in any? What level does Fate of the Dragon Queen start at? Oh, wait a second. That's our module that we just released. Are you playing it for 5th edition or for Pathfinder 2? It's level 14. 5th edition or Pathfinder 2? That's an important question. 5th edition. Okay, cool. So 5th edition, if they're level 14 and they're just starting to play, I would say, this is just spitballing it. Remember, for 5th edition, the game is supposedly designed and balanced, supposedly, so that characters don't need magic items. They don't need magic items. So you will never probably go wrong with not allowing them to have magic items. That said, it's level 14, right? So they should probably have a little something something. What I would recommend is one uncommon magic item, one rare, and probably one very rare. I think if you did that at level 14, you'd be just fine. Now, the average group by level 14 is probably going to have more than that. 100% guarantee you. But, like I said, supposedly, according to the game designers, in Xanathar's, there's a sidebar in there that explains, and why they wrote this in Xanathar's and not in the Dungeon Master Guide blows my mind. But it says in Xanathar's that the game is designed so that you don't have to give your players any magic items. So you give them a common, an uncommon, a rare, and a very rare, and they'll be just fine. Now, that said, I do want you to know that DM Lair adventures are more challenging than what you're probably going to find in like official modules and stuff, because we know that power creep in 5th edition characters is insane at times. And so we literally scale our adventures up a little bit, more so at the higher levels, to make them more challenging, to account for the fact that Wizards of the Coast keeps producing more and more powerful and broken character options. So we try to account for that when we design our adventures. So if you run a level 14 adventure from us, it's probably going to be more challenging than if you run it like an official adventure from Wizards or something. So bear that in mind. I will also tell you that if you run an adventure that I wrote, it'll be really challenging. Zach, I don't know, does Zach tend to do challenging adventures or not? Zach, how would you say it? Not all of your adventures are like just, you know, if you look at like the Adventuring Day, Experience Day and stuff, but how would you classify your adventure writing? Do you think you tend to be like middle of the road, varying, or more challenging than normal? Goliath Cleric is Zach. So we're gonna see what he says. We're waiting for you, Zach. We're literally just sitting here waiting for you to type something to us. Put the pressure on him. Oh, he's gonna ghost me. Oh, he's like, Luke, I'm working, Luke. Quit bothering me. Quit bothering me. Challenging for the DM or player? Oh, that is a very good question. That's a great question. So I'll get to that. I'll answer that in a second. I do a variety of them. I can do extremely challenging, easier, in between. Normally, the easier it is in terms of XP, the more complex it will be with other things. This coming February is an example. Okay, cool. So you tend to do like a variety of stuff. That makes sense. That's kind of what I've observed for the ones that I've game design reviewed. Now, I I almost always make adventures that are too hard, and then sometimes in the game design review, Zach will be like, Luke, this is crazy. You got to scale this back a little bit. I have a problem. I have a problem making adventures that are too hard. Like my boss fights are like, this is 2 times deadly at level 5, Luke. You can't do this. But it'll be fun. So now to answer your question, challenging for the DM or challenging for the player. So one of the things that we do when we publish our adventures is we have very, very specific ways that we try to make our adventures as easy to use as possible for game masters. Like the way that we write our adventures, the way we design it, the organization and the layout is intentionally made to help you run the game easier. It's little things. Like, let me pull up an example, just kind of walk through a couple things, except that the cat is like in my face. We can go for Fate of the Dragon Queen. I'll use the Word document for you though. I'll pull up that one, the Fate of the Dragon Queen, and we'll walk through that one. I think that was for October. I gotta keep this cat out of my face because he's gonna come right in front of me and obscure the keyboard, and then I won't be able to do anything. That's the level 14 adventure. Okay, we'll pull that up. And then I'll share my screen with you so you can actually see this. Center monitor. Okay, so this was written by Danny Arriaga. She's one of our writers, and the cartography was by Architect GM. He's an amazing cartographer. He's awesome. I love that dude. So one of the things that we do is we tell you the creatures that you're going to have at the very beginning so that you can go prep them and find where they are. It's super helpful to know all the creatures in advance when you're preparing as a game master. I wish everybody would do this. It just makes it easier to prep. We tell you how much resting should be allowed. We tell you all of the different loot that is included in the adventure so you can go prepare. Some game masters like to do handouts for different magic items. Some of them might just want to make notes about them. You might want to replace it. You might say a ring of invisibility, that's crazy, and you want to replace it. Well, we tell you up front. So we're trying to make it easier for you. We tell you a background. Everybody does that. Everybody does a background type of thing. For locations, we tell you about the locations up front, some basic information about them. NPCs, we have role-playing notes for you. We tell you what they look like. We tell you their occupation, and we give you a secret so that you can role-play them a little bit better. This is all front-loaded in our adventures to help you as you prepare, and lots of notes about those guys. And then we have some random encounters for you, just in case you need them. Just in case you need them. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy. Ugh. He's our cat Twitch has bad hips, and he doesn't like jumping up and down. I gotta help him. Adventure hooks. We have our adventure hooks. We have role-playing notes, and so one of the things that you find in a lot of modules that you're going to purchase is you're gonna find big blocks of text, like just lots of big blocks of text, and parsing through that information can be challenging at times. So what we like to do is we do these call out boxes a lot, and we do bullet points a lot in them as well. And the reason is that it makes it easier for you to find the information that you need, and if you have to read it at the game table, easier to parse through it at the game table. We are less interested in making adventures and books that look pretty and are intended to be just read casually, and we're more interested in making adventures and books that might not be the prettiest things to put your eyes on, but they're very useful. They are made with usability in mind. We're really striving for that when we publish our adventures. And then obviously, and it's got a bunch of those things. And you always have read aloud text. Every single area is going to have read aloud text for you, whether you want to paraphrase it or whether you read it word for word. It's up to you. The other thing that we do, noted right here, do you see how there's a bunch of stuff in the entry hall. Braziers, we give you information about it, and you'll notice it's bolded so you can find it really quickly. If somebody's like, oh, I want to check out the dragon heads, oh, you can find the dragon heads really quickly right there. They want to go look at the skeletons, oh cool, there's information about the skeletons. So we intentionally write our adventures, we format them, and we organize them to make them as easy for the game master as possible to use in their game. This is very, very intentional. This is a methodology that I developed when we were just first starting writing our stuff, because I come from a technical writing background, and I'm very concerned with usability and a game master being able to prep quickly and to use these at the game table and use them as reference material too, because there's lots of official stuff that gets published that is very hard to find what you're looking for at the game table because you're under pressure and stress, and then you're trying to find it and you can't find it. So we're trying to help people to do that as much as possible. And that's like some of the high notes. But we also have encounter notes as well, that'll give you some basic ideas of what the enemies might do if a fight breaks out. And obviously there are role-playing notes. This is something, by the way, this is something that you don't always see in official published adventures. Role-playing notes for the monsters. A lot of times you're just going to come into an area and it's going to tell you there is a wereworm in the area. And that's pretty much all they tell you. And you're like, well, what do I do with that? I guess it attacks or something. No, we give you role-playing notes that help you to role-play that creature, because we don't assume that every creature is going to be a combat. We want there to be motivations and a reason for that creature to be there, because the players might want to talk to that creature and do different cool stuff. And so we give role-playing notes for the creatures in the areas as well. It's rare. Here's some 4 wereworms with role-playing notes. And we have an adult green dragon with role-playing notes. Yay. It is rare for us to publish creatures in an area without some notes for you to know how to role-play them at the game table, and notes for the encounter if a fight breaks out. And technically, yes, I know that an encounter doesn't have to be a fight, but this is how we differentiate it, just for usability's purposes. So to answer your question, we do our very best to make our adventures easy for game masters to use. So when I say that they're challenging, what I'm more referring to is from the player's standpoint. Like, is it hard? Is it challenging for them to run as an adventure? Like, are the fights challenging? Is accomplishing their objective challenging? That sort of thing. That's what I meant by adventures being challenging. Can you do a video on how to run a streamed game? Well, Steve, I mean, I could just tell you right now how to run a streamed game. Well, Steve, let me ask you a question. Are you trying to be the next Critical Role, or you just want to run a D&D game? What is your objective? What are you trying to do? Because what you're trying to do is going to determine my answer. Lots of other questions. Cool. I got to get to these questions too. Any tips for a school campaign or first time DMing? Yeah, school campaign. If you're able to run that campaign like at the school right after school, that would probably help you get your players together. I have a group, supposedly, I don't think I have a group anymore, of high schoolers, and they're always just so busy with everything. It's like they got band practice and they got this and the other, and they never have any availability to play, and scheduling is a nightmare. But if you can get something right after school, so they like just stay after school to play the game for a couple hours every week, that's probably going to help you get your group together. Other than that, like if they're like middle schoolers or high schoolers, you can mostly just run D&D or whatever RPG you're playing as is, with a few adjustments. I don't know if you're the same age as the people of the school, or if you're like an older dude running it for younger people or something, because that's probably going to influence how you run the game as well. But that'll help you with scheduling, at least if you can run it right after there. But when I was running my game for kids, I changed some things, but I didn't change a whole lot. I made the adventures and things a little bit easier, right? And I probably gave them more magic items because it's cool, and they weren't very optimal in combat anyway and stuff, so they kind of needed more magic items to help them out and stuff, and then it made them happy. So some of your adventures come with maps. All of our adventures come with maps. Every single adventure of ours has a map. I'll show you the map to the adventure I just pulled up for you. We don't publish adventures without maps, and we have some really good cartographers. Let me show you the map for this one. Woo! Come on, baby. Let's go over on the right screen. Center. There we go. So this is the map for the adventure I just showed you. Fate. Well, it's the Fate of the Dragon Queen, but the name of the location is the Dragon's Keep right here. So I mean, we always have maps. We have maps for all of our adventures. Every single one of them is going to have maps. So if that answers your question. Did Steve get back to me? Oh, you want to run a D&D game? Okay, but you didn't answer the question about your purpose in streaming it, dude. And that was the important question. All right, I'm going to give you the truncated answer. Just turn your cameras on and stream it to Twitch. Nobody cares. But here's the bottom line. Everybody and their stinking brother is streaming their games to Twitch. And the vast majority of them have 2 viewers. The person who's streaming and their mom or their grandma or somebody or one of the other players. Like if you look at Twitch, the number of people that are streaming their D&D games and the number that have like 0 viewers or 1 or 2 viewers, it's the vast majority. So it doesn't really matter how you stream your game. Like nobody's gonna watch it anyway. I'm just being honest with you. So just if you want to stream it for kicks and giggles, just start doing it. Don't worry too much about the implementation of it. Just start streaming it. Throw some cameras on and turn things on and just start streaming your game. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just enjoy doing it. Do it for kicks. Do it for fun. You know, if you're trying to do it because you want to like grow your Twitch following or whatever through streaming D&D games, that's not going to happen. You don't grow Twitch and streaming games through streaming games. The way you grow on Twitch or the way you grow and get people to watch you stream games is you make short form content on a different platform such as YouTube or maybe TikTok, or maybe Instagram or something, but you make content somewhere else that is discoverable, because Twitch is not a discoverable platform. You have to make content somewhere else, and by making YouTube videos, let's say, and then you have to drive that audience over to your Twitch channel. That's the only way to grow a Twitch channel. Twitch is 0% discoverability. It is so if you want to be successful streaming and getting people to watch your games, you can't start there. You have to start getting an audience somewhere else, right? Because nobody's gonna watch it. So, sorry. It's rough. Streaming. The thing is that the lower the barrier of entry is to something, the more people who are going to do it, and the more competition there is for something. Like, go look at Drive-Thru-RPG or DM's Guild. Like, it's so easy to make a PDF. A bajillion people are throwing PDFs out there. It's saturated, which means that the number of people who are actually making any money over on those platforms is very small. And so when streaming to Twitch is so stinking easy, then you're going to have everybody and their brother doing it, which means there's crazy competition, which means that the only people that are going to get views and stuff are the people that are really good at it. But even more than that, the way Twitch ranks the videos is, I mean, I haven't been on Twitch in a while, they might have changed it, but they literally will show the streams that have the most viewers are at the top of the search results. And so if you have 0 viewers, you're not getting found. Life, which sucks. AJ Silver Radio says, thank you for the roleplay notes. My players are always trying to bluff their way around combat encounters. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's see. Find some more questions here. Oh, okay. So Steve says, I want to learn how to do it. I'm an old school DM and behind the times. I'm like ZZ Top when they came back and had all these new high-tech toys to make music with. Just play around, dude. Just do it. Just start doing it. Like if you just want to learn how to do it because to have fun and stuff, just start doing it. Just get some cameras on, throw it up on a stream, and just go. You know what I mean? And then as you start doing it, you'll just start. Oh, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's try that. Oh, let's do this. You know what I mean? And you'll get better at it. You know, if your motivation is just a hobby to have fun and stuff, then you just start and you'll have 0 viewers and you'll suck. So it's good. You don't want people to watch you when you're not good at it. You want you want when you have like when you're not good at something, you want 0 viewers. Like a lot of people will complain about how hard it is on YouTube to get views and stuff. Well, it's like, well, when you first start, you're probably not very good. So it's a good thing you don't get any views, you know? And then after like a while of doing it, you get a lot better at it. And then guess what happens? More people start watching you, which kind of is good because you're better at it. And so people see better content, you know? It's you don't want people to see you when you suck. I have an idea for a setting where the moon phases determine if you can resurrect someone. Is this a bad idea? I would make sure there's a way to resurrect someone if the player wants it. Well, you just killed your setting. You want it both ways. What's the point? What's the point? So if your whole concept is like the moon phases determine your ability to resurrect someone. Oh, okay, cool. You have a concept, a premise. Interesting. But, you know, if the player wants to get resurrected anyway, I'll let it happen. Well, then what's the point? What's the point? It's like, oh man, I was just going to give an example. I was going to give an analogy, but it's so politically, like, charged, I can't use this analogy. It's okay, let's do a less politically charged one. It's like saying, okay, everybody's required to pay taxes. That's the rule. But, you know, if you don't want to, you don't have to. What's the point? So if you're going to have a setting where resurrection depends on the moon phases, then make resurrection depend on the moon phases. Don't give them another way where they're just like, well, you know, I died and I want to come back. Well, okay, fine. This one time I'll allow it. No, you just undermined your entire concept. So if you have a cool concept that you like, then stick with it, right? Now, that's one point. The other point I want to make is that, you know, it depends on your campaign you're running, and what are the expectations of the campaign or of the players regarding resurrection and being raised from the dead? Because if you were to just make a generalized statement about D&D 5th edition, let's say in general, if you were to limit the ability to raise people from the dead, you know, there could be a lot of players that have a big issue with that, and they might not enjoy that. However, that said, D&D 5th edition after level 5 or so, people almost never die because the game mechanics make it so that it's almost impossible to die because you're like, oh, I'm at 0 hit points, so I'm just, you know, I'm making my death checks, and you almost always recover. Almost always. So, I don't know. Some players would not want to play in a game without easy resurrection. Other players would enjoy that and not have a problem with it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would think that was cool. I would be like, oh, cool. You can only get raised from the dead on certain moon cycles, and the next moon cycle's 14 days away. Okay, I'll make a new character. I don't care. That's fun. You know, there might be other people who would be like, that's bullcrap. I want my character back, or I'm leaving. So it just depends on who your players are, you know, but the concept in and of itself is interesting, you know. I also like just not having a resurrection. I'll make a new character up. I run a neighborhood D&D club and thinking about making a module with the more dedicated members. What advice would you give for dividing roles amongst 3 to 4 people? Oh, you're project management. Yeah, you want to do project management? Yeah, let me give you some project management advice. What's going to happen here? You're probably going to have some people who are gung-ho about it. Oh, everybody might be gung-ho about it at first. And then you're going to have people who, after you're putting a whole bunch of work in it, you're going to end up with like 2 people who just don't want to do it. And like they're not hitting their deadlines and they're just not turning in content. And so they're going to drop out, and then it'll be on you and the other people to finish it, you know. But if you want to get that project done, it's going to take dedicated project management, which means you're going to have a whip in your hand, right? You're going to have to set deadlines. You're going to have to, so you want to divide and conquer. You probably want a Kanban board. You want to say, okay, this is what the module is going to be. This is what the content of this module is going to be. And you want to outline that out. All right. And then what you want to do is you want to have each like piece of the module. Let's say you're going to do a level 1 adventure. Well, that's a piece of the module. Okay. You're going to develop, 80 new monsters. Okay. Let's break that up into groups of 10 monsters, right? So we have 8 tasks to make 10 monsters for each task, and then we have all the levels of the adventures. You want to break those up into different tasks, okay? And that's why you want a Kanban board. And you want to put those on that board, and you want to be able to help organize that work. And then you want to assign that work to people. And then you want to schedule the work out. So you want to figure out, okay, well, this is what's got to get done, and let's figure out some deadlines and some goals about when we want to accomplish all of these things and when we're going to get it done. And then you want to try to work toward that. And then if you're the project manager, you're probably going to have to be like reminding people, hey, your level 5 adventure is due. Where is that adventure? These monsters aren't done. We need to get these monsters in, and then you're probably going to have some slippage. Your final deadline and stuff is just going to keep getting pushed back and back because you guys are doing it for fun, right? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to take their wages away? You're going to put them on like a personal improvement plan or something if they don't like turn in their adventure or something. So you're looking at some serious project management work right there, and you're doing it for people who are just doing it for kicks because they want to. So you have no leverage, so to speak, over them, right? To get them to actually do it. So that in and of itself is challenging, right? But the concept is to decide what you're going to do, break it up into small achievable tasks, use a project management board like a Kanban board that'll help you to keep track of everything, and you push stuff along. I would also have a goal of what you want to do as an end goal. I'm gonna dive really quick here first. Are you trying to publish it? Do you just want to have it in a manuscript? Some Word documents? Do you want to make it a wiki somewhere where it's going to be an online wiki that anybody can find and you're going to publish it on a website or something? Like, what's your goal and where are you trying to go? So I would think about that stuff too, because that would be important when you're planning out your work and where you want to go. So there are some thoughts for you. If I were publishing I literally publish modules, and that's what we do. The process I described to you is literally how we do it. And then, like right now I'm the project manager, so and Zach works for me. So we have deadlines and everything, and yeah. The player level range that you and your players find the most fun. Oh, what is the player level range you and your players find the most fun most often? Or is it always better to start at level 1 so they settle into their class or role naturally? I've always started at level 1 because I like it. You could definitely make a case for D&D 5th edition that you probably starting at level 1 is rough. Rough. It could be deadly. But you want to not rub against the camera. Don't yell at me. You could start at level 3, would be fine. Now, what level ranges do we most enjoy playing? Well, if we were talking about D&D 5th edition, most game masters don't enjoy running higher levels because it's a mess and there's no balance, and there are certain abilities and spells and stuff characters have access to that just can ruin the game at times. I'm running into this right now with one of my groups at level 18, where they're considering doing stuff that it's like, wow, game breaking broken stuff. So most game masters don't like running at high levels, I would conjecture. Now players, that's a different story, right? Because D&D 5th edition has a reputation for being easier for players to play, but more challenging for game masters to run. So players might find higher levels more fun. I don't know, it depends. I've always gone from level 1 to close to level 20 in my games just because. And then I figure out how to balance it and figure things out, even though it's challenging at times. So that's kind of an answer for you. It's probably not a good answer, but it's something. Gave you something. We have a giveaway tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Join the giveaway. We're going to draw the winner in just a couple minutes. You can win Into the Fae level 1 to 5 adventure module for 5th edition, or you can get store credit on the DM Lair store. And we just released Foundry VTT modules. So you can get Foundry modules on our store as well. And if you win the giveaway, you can get store credit, which means you could get the modules for free with your store credit if you wanted to. You're not drinking my coffee. Yeah. That's why Baldur's Gate 3 stops at level 12. Yeah, some of those high level spells, man. I have a, so don't tell my players this. My Ancient Dragon players are my patrons. I run a game for them. But they have a spell called, what the heck is that spell called? Zach, you might know. It's like a level 6 spell that when you cast it, it essentially makes an entire level. It's like it does damage to celestials, fiends, devils, fae, whole range of different creature types, and it's a massive area. So if you cast that, it is and it does a lot of damage each round. It can basically wipe out an entire dungeon level if you cast that spell. It's like a 6th level spell. Does anybody remember what the name of that spell is? Does anybody remember? If you get one of our Foundry modules, it's just the Foundry module. It doesn't come with the PDF as well. The PDFs are available if you want the PDF as well, but our Foundry modules have everything in there. Everything is in the Foundry module itself. All of the content from the PDF is in Foundry, so you shouldn't technically need the PDF, I guess. Although if you want to print stuff off and help prep the game, that's a good point, but. You can get them, but they don't come with them. Will you stop rubbing against stuff? And then I'll have to. Jeez. Power word win. Forbiddance. Yeah, I think it's forbiddance. I think that's right. Forbiddance. That's right. Forbiddance. So my 18th level group, the cleric is now. They've cast forbiddance on a dungeon, and I have a feeling they're probably going to start using it more. And so I was like, this is crazy. Like, let's look at the spell really quick, and I'll show you how crazy this is. I need you to go away, and then I need you to go away, and I need you to get bigger. Okay, and then we're gonna go over here, and I'm gonna share my screen with you, and hopefully I have access to this. Tools, sources, game rules, spells. Okay. I don't care about your. I don't give you guys money anymore. Go away. Gordy, you're in the way. Forbiddance? Gotta push the enter button. Did I spell it wrong? It's thinking. I spelled it right. Amazing. Okay, so this is the spell that they're casting. It's a crazy huge area. And it damages lots of different creature types. And it's 5d10 radiant damage or necrotic damage every turn. It's a crap ton of damage for a level 6 spell. It's crazy. It's bonkers. So my cleric is starting to cast this, and I'm just like, that's crazy. If they do this in every dungeon, like, what am I gonna do? Because this is an auto win. So what do I do? And I'm like, okay, well, dispel magic, obviously. And of course the player won't like that. They'll be like, oh, I got dispel magic. Well, you tried to kill everything in the dungeon with one spell, dude. The bad guys have dispel magic, they're gonna use it. Okay, cool. So if somebody's got dispel magic, I'll just dispel magic. Which is as soon as there's a caster that starts just taking crazy amounts of damage, like, they're gonna try to dispel magic. What's going on? It must be magic. Dispel magic. Makes sense. Okay, the other thing that I had was, okay, so then they dispel magic. Well, now what happens? Everybody in that dungeon level took a crap ton of damage. Do you know what just happened? They woke up the dungeon. Everybody is now going to be on a manhunt for who cast that spell. Where is the powerful cleric or spellcaster that is able to cast a spell that damages all of us? Because we're going to find him right now. And so I feel like if that happens in a game, they wake up the entire dungeon, and the entire dungeon tries to find them. And once they find them, the alert goes up, right? And then they start to home in and fall in and swarm them, right? Like, why wouldn't they? Like, that is the logical thing that a dungeon would do, is you swarm. When somebody is able to damage everybody, you don't just sit in your rooms and be like, well, you know, we're just gonna sit here and wait for them to come to us. No, you seek them out. And so I think that spell is probably gonna, it'll probably get used again, and I will have to wake up the entire, I don't like doing this. This is the thing, I hate doing this because it's not fun. It's not enjoyable, but I feel like my hand is being forced, because if I don't do that, they're just going to clear out every dungeon with this spell. And if they clear out every dungeon with this spell, I will stop designing dungeons. I literally will stop doing it, because why am I going to waste my time spending 4 to 6 hours to create a dungeon if they're going to defeat it like that? And then my time is mostly wasted. So if I don't do something that makes sense, then I'm gonna stop making the game. So there's probably other solutions to it too, but that was my thinking through that I got to. The other thing is just simply, players, just don't use that stupid spell, because it is not fun to wake up the entire dungeon. Like, I don't want to do it as a game master. You don't want to play that as a group either. It's not going to be fun. Not going to be fun. Well, okay, disrupt the 10-minute spellcasting time, but they're in a room and the enemies don't know they're there. You know, you're not just going to be like randomly, like, how obvious is that? Every single time they start casting that spell, oh, look at, monsters arrived. Like, I don't want to be like, you know, this sleazy jerk where it's like you're intentionally screwing with their ability to cast that spell. You know, like, if it's reasonable for them to have 10 minutes to cast a spell, which it usually is, then they get to cast the spell. What I'm going to do is I'm going to think through some logical consequences of casting that spell. It's probably going to get dispelled because they're fighting CR 25 creatures. There's going to be a spellcaster in there that can dispel magic. And then when you've done that much damage to that many people, the whole dungeon is going to try to find who the intruders are. And they're going to have to fight a lot of encounters back to back. And they might succeed, they might not. So I don't want to just like screw with their ability to cast the spell. I would rather play out the natural consequences of that a time or two for them to see, maybe this doesn't work as well as I thought it would. And then they'll stop casting it. And then I might, the other strategy too is just to ask them, hey guys, stop casting this spell, please, because it makes the game very unfun. Very unfun. And I'm gonna stop making dungeons. I'm not gonna do it anymore. I'm not gonna do it anymore. We're just gonna go to a dungeon, we're gonna assume you cast Forbiddance, and we're gonna assume that the adventure is over. And I'm just gonna tell you the loot you find. And that'll be our game session. We will have 15-minute game sessions that will basically be me telling you the loot you find in the dungeon. And that's all we're gonna do. That's what our game is going to be. I don't want to play that game. You probably don't either. But if you're gonna do that spell for every adventure, I'm gonna stop designing adventures, because that is deeply unsatisfying to spend 4 to 6 hours to have that spell get cast and have everything be over. So we're not gonna do that. So that's the other tactic, right? Just talk to them, obviously. Do you have more one-shots posted? I love the video. Oh, we do. I mean, the one-shots are we're gonna stop publishing our one-shots. I think I have one more. We have an October one-shot and then a November one-shot that'll go on the DM Lair Streams channel. But then we're gonna stop publishing them to YouTube. It's a lot more work for us to publish our one-shots. We're stopping. We're not gonna do it anymore. We got a couple more. There will still be one-shots for patrons. We're just not gonna publish them all. Oh, the spell's area can't overlap with the other area, with another area of the forbidden spell. Yeah, a monster could cast Forbiddance on their own lair and it's immune to the spell. That's very true. They could do that. It wouldn't have any real effect. But that's the type of thing that's just unsatisfying to me. Like, and this is the problem. This is the typical thing that happens whenever there is an overpowered ability or overpowered spell in the game. Like, instead of addressing the actual problem, the game designers were like smoking something when they made this spell, or there wasn't enough playtesting because they rushed out a product because they had a deadline to hit, such as 2024. Like, instead of addressing the actual root cause that this spell is broken and fixing the spell, right? We're like, well, let's do this and do that and do this and the other. And it's deeply annoying to me. You know, I really wish they would have spells that weren't broken. I wish they would design them better. I wish they would playtest them better. That's what I actually want. I don't want to have to come up with all these different things to do to get around the fact that the forbidden spell is stupid. You know, like it's not that broken. It only has a maximum damage output of, yeah, it's crazy amount of damage. It's an insane amount of damage. What is your opinion on primitive firearms? Are they good or bad? I don't really care. I don't allow firearms in my games because I just don't want to run a game with firearms. I'm running a medieval fantasy game for a reason. There aren't firearms. Thinking of adding a homebrew blunderbuss, 44 roll 20 to hit for each shot. I mean, there are rules in the game, in the core rulebook. Like if you're playing D&D 5th edition, there are rules in the Dungeon Master Guide, I believe, for firearms. They have them. You can also just use the same stats for a crossbow and call it a gun instead. And, you know, even Steven. So, but I don't like the idea of firearms in my games. I want a medieval fantasy game. That's what I want to run. But that might obviously you want something different, which is fine. So you do what you and your players find fun. Just because I don't like firearms doesn't mean in my games, you know, I mean I have guns and I go to the range and I shoot my guns, but in my games I don't like firearms because I want to run medieval fantasy games, magic and crap, you know. You could just ban the spell. You can, yeah. I mean, at some point, like, if there's a problematic spell, like, yeah, it'll probably get banned. But I don't like to just ban stuff. If I can, I would rather talk to my players, you know, rather than just ban something outright. But if it comes to it, you can, obviously, as a game master. I just don't like to be heavy-handed like that. I'd rather have a conversation and come to an agreeable solution with my players, you know? All right, we're gonna draw the giveaway now. We're gonna do the giveaway. I'm gonna die here really quick for you. Oh, I got this dry cough. I've had this dry cough for like 3 months. I'll be fine for days, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, you're gonna cough now, and then you're just coughing. All right, I gotta do the giveaway. I need to draw the winners for the giveaway. All right, draw a winner. Draw a winner. Draw one winner. Yes, just draw one winner. Okay, the winner is Alan Bennett. Alan Bennett, you have won, good sir. I will be sending you an email probably after the stream here, and we will get you hooked up with Into the Fae or DM Lair store credit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I'm leaving. Thank you for hanging out. It's been fun. I'll be here probably next week, same time, for more fun Q&A crap and stuff. So, all right. Bye, everybody. I'm leaving. Leaving now.